Chapter 1. The worst moment of your life. Winning the lottery feels like the best moment of your life. At least, that is what you expect. You check your phone and see the number. $12 million. At first, it does not look real. You blink. You refresh the page. You check the numbers again, slower this time, matching each one carefully. They match. You have just won $12 million. Your heart starts racing. You sit up straight. The room feels different, like something has shifted without you noticing. You start doing the math in your head automatically. Debt gone. Bills gone. Work becomes optional. The pressure you have been carrying for years disappears in a single moment. You start imagining what comes next. The calls you're going to make. The messages you're going to send. The reactions. The excitement. The feeling of finally being able to say yes to anything. You think about how everything is about to change. Everything is about to change, just not in the way you think. Because the moment you win, your life does not simply improve, it splits. There's a version of your life before this moment and everything that comes after. And once you cross that line, there is no going back. Most people assume the danger comes later. Bad investments, overspending, losing discipline over time. It does not. The real damage starts before any of that, before you spend anything, before the money even reaches your account. It starts with what you do next. Because the first decision you make after winning the lottery feels small. It feels harmless. It feels like something anyone would do. And that is exactly why it ruins people. Chapter 2. The first 24 hours. If you win the lottery, the most important thing you can do in the first 24 hours is nothing. No calls, no messages, no quick celebration to make it feel real. Because this is the moment where everything begins to slip out of your control, even if you do not notice it happening. The urge to tell someone hits almost instantly. It's not logical, it's emotional. You want to share it. You want someone else to react, to confirm that this is actually real. So you think, just one person, someone you trust, someone close. And that is how it starts. The moment you say it out loud, it stops being just yours. Not because that person is trying to betray you, but because information like this does not stay contained. It moves, it spreads in ways you cannot track or control. They tell someone they trust. That person mentions it casually. It shifts from a secret into a conversation, and from a conversation into something bigger. And suddenly, people know. At first, it doesn't feel threatening. Messages come in, people check on you. Some act like nothing has changed, but something has. The tone is slightly different. Conversations last longer. There's a pause before certain questions, like people are testing how far they can go. Then it builds. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly remember you. Old contacts reappear. Opportunities start showing up out of nowhere. And none of it feels aggressive. It feels natural. That is what makes it dangerous. Because while you think you're just sharing good news, what you're actually doing is losing control over who has access to you. And once that control is gone, you don't get it back. Chapter 3. The pressure you did not expect. The real problem with winning the lottery is not the money. It is what the money turns you into. Overnight, you stop being just another person in people's lives. You become something else entirely. A solution. An opportunity. A way out of problems that existed long before you had anything to do with them. And the shift is not obvious at first. Nobody sits you down and says it directly. Instead, it shows up in small ways. Conversations start to change. People take a little longer before getting to the point. They share more than they used to. Problems that were never mentioned before suddenly become important. You start hearing things like, "I didn't want to ask, but," or "I would not normally say this." And every time, it sounds reasonable. Because from your perspective, you can help. You now have $12 million. Saying no feels unnecessary, even selfish. It feels like you are holding back when you do not need to. So you say yes. Small things at first, helping someone out, covering something quickly, making a difference where you can. And it feels good. That is what reinforces it. But what you do not see is what is happening underneath. Every yes sets a new expectation. Not just for that person, but for everyone else watching, even if they have not said anything yet. Because people are always watching. They notice who you help, how much you give, how easily you say yes. And slowly, without you realizing it, your identity starts to change. You are no longer the person who won the lottery. You are the person who gives. And once that becomes who you are, it is almost impossible to reverse. Because saying yes feels good, but it is also the fastest way to lose everything you just gained. Chapter 4. What smart people actually do. This is the part nobody tells you, because it feels completely wrong in the moment. The people who actually keep their money do something very simple, but very uncomfortable. They disappear. Not in a dramatic way, and not forever. But immediately, they reduce their visibility. They do not announce anything. They do not suddenly upgrade their lifestyle. They do not give people a reason to ask questions. If anything, they act like nothing has changed. Because the smartest move you can make after winning $12 million is to create distance between you and the money. Distance gives you control. Instead of reacting emotionally, they slow everything down. They understand that the version of themselves in the first few days is not the version that should be making decisions. So they delay everything. They quietly speak to professionals. Not friends, not family, not people with opinions. People with experience. Lawyers, financial advisors, people who understand what happens after sudden wealth. They build a structure before they make a move. And most importantly, they control information. Because once people know, you cannot take that back. You cannot undo awareness. You cannot reverse access. But if nobody knows, you still have options. You decide who finds out, when they find out, how much they know. And that control is everything. Because money does not protect you, control does. And the longer you keep that control, the more likely it is that the $12 million actually stays yours. Chapter 5. The rule that decides everything. There is one rule that separates the people who keep their money from the people who lose it. And it is not complicated. Do not make any big decisions early. No large investments, no expensive purchases, no major commitments. Nothing that locks you into something permanent. Because right now, you are not thinking clearly, even if you believe you are. $12 million changes your perception instantly. What used to feel expensive now feels small. What used to feel like a risk now feels manageable. You start thinking in different numbers. $50,000 feels like nothing. $100,000 feels reasonable. You begin justifying decisions that you would never have made before. And that is where people lose everything. Because those decisions do not happen once. They stack. One investment leads to another. One purchase leads to another. One yes leads to 10 more. And suddenly, the money that felt unlimited starts to shrink. This is why smart winners wait. Not days, not weeks, sometimes months, even a full year. They allow the excitement to settle. They let their thinking return to something stable. They remove urgency from every decision, because urgency is what destroys wealth. Money gives you the ability to act quickly, but that does not mean you should. In fact, the faster you move, the more likely you are to make mistakes. And with this level of money, mistakes are not small. Chapter 6. The truth about winning. Winning the lottery does not make you good with money. It reveals whether you already were, because nothing about you changes overnight, except the number in your account. Your habits stay the same. Your instincts stay the same. The way you handle pressure, the way you make decisions, the way you deal with people, all of it stays exactly the same. The only difference is the scale. If you were impulsive before, you will be impulsive with more money. If you struggled to say no before, it becomes even harder when you feel like you can afford to say yes to everything. If you avoided difficult decisions before, you will avoid them again. But now the consequences are much bigger. That is why so many people lose it all. Not because they didn't have enough, but because they were not prepared for what comes with having it. The truth is, money amplifies who you already are. It makes your strengths stronger, but it also makes your weaknesses more expensive. So if you ever find yourself in that position, staring at $12 million on a screen that does not feel real, with a life that is about to change, remember this. The goal is not to act fast. It is to stay in control. Because winning the lottery is not what makes you rich. Keeping it is.